Welcome to our continuing series, Questions and Answers from Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, Part 14, on the Supramental Force. These are Mother's replies to questions asked about some of Sri Aurobindo's thoughts and aphorisms. Question. In this connection, what are the very first things that the supramental force intends to drive out, or is trying to drive out, so that everything may be in its place, individually and cosmically? Mother replies, drive out? But will it drive out anything? If we accept Sri Aurobindo's idea, it will put each thing in its place. That's all. One thing must necessarily cease, and that is the distortion. That is to say, the veil of falsehood upon truth, because that is what is responsible for everything we see here. If this is removed, things will be completely different. Completely. They will be what we feel them to be when we come out of this consciousness. When one comes out of this consciousness and enters into the truth consciousness, the difference is such that one wonders how there can be anything like suffering and misery and death and all that. There is a kind of astonishment in the sense that one does not understand how it can happen when one has really tipped over to the other side. But this experience is usually associated with the experience of the unreality of the world as we know it. Whereas Sri Aurobindo says that this perception of the unreality of the world is not necessary to live in the supramental consciousness. It is only the unreality of falsehood, not the unreality of the world. That is to say, the world has a reality of its own, independent of falsehood. I suppose that is the first effect of the supermind, the first effect in the individual, because it will begin with the individual. 18 July 1961. Number 167 of Thoughts and Aphorisms. God within is leading us always aright, even when we are in the bonds of the ignorance. But then, though the goal is sure, it is attained by circlings and deviations. Mother, the goal foreseen by the divine is always attained, but only those whose consciousness is united with the divine consciousness attain it directly and knowingly. The others, the vast majority of those who are conscious only of their external being, attain this goal only after having made many detours, which often seemed to be going in the opposite direction. 6 October 1969. Number 174. If we would understand God, we must renounce our egoistic and ignorant human standards, or else ennoble and universalize them. Mother replies, to the human way of understanding, the world is terribly immoral, full of suffering and ugliness, especially since the appearance of the human race. So it is difficult for the human consciousness to accept that this world could be the work of a personal God, because for man it seems to be the work of an omnipotent monster. But Sri Aurobindo adds that it is better to try to understand instead of condemning. And surely the best way to understand is to unite with this supreme consciousness, so as to see as it sees and understand as it understands. This is certainly the only true wisdom. And yoga is the true way of uniting with the Supreme. 15 October 1969. Number 171. When all is said, love and force together can save the world eventually, but not love only or force only. Therefore, Christ had to look forward to a second advent, and Muhammad's religion, where it is not stagnant, looks forward through the Imams to a Mahdi. Mother replies, love alone, as preached by Christ, failed to transform man. Force alone, as preached by Muhammad, did not transform man, far from it. That is why the consciousness which is at work to transform mankind unites force with love. And the one who must realize this transformation will come on earth with the power of divine love. 10 October 1969. Number 172. Love cannot save the world. Therefore Moses' ordinances are dead for humanity, and the Shastra of the Brahmins is corrupt and dying. Law released into freedom is the liberator, not the pundit, but the yogin, not monasticism, but the inner renunciation of desire and ignorance and egoism. Mother responds, this is irrefutably clear, and it is exactly what we are trying to do. But human nature is rebellious and finds it difficult to win freedom at the price of renouncing desire and ignorance and egoism. Most human beings prefer the slavery of desire and ignorance and egoism to freedom without them. 13 October 1969.